I get 2 picks.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like that's what I kind of love is like when you're just like kind of trade talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden they just like, bam, send you an offer, and you're just like, accept. Like just right away, you're just like, I got to do this. I'm trying to trade away Darren Waller in that league right now. Really trying to get rid of Darren Waller. Bad.
I'll give you a second for him. I'll give you 2-3.
It's not enough for a top 5.
If he plays, he's top 5.
Oh, don't even do that. Don't even do that. You're trying to undersell him. As soon as you try and undersell an asset I'm giving to you, I'm like, nope, I don't want you to have him now because he's so bad. You don't need him on your team.
You won't even. I mean, I've been trying to get Kittle off of you for a year. You won't even discuss him. So
I won't trade.
Keep breaking my heart in on that.
So I here's my thing. I will not trade in a league until the league is transitioned to the new year. So like now that league is in like limbo until my fantasy league transitions to 2022. I don't even look at my rosters. I don't even care about none of that. I just leave it. But anyways, that's our intro. Welcome on into Second and Short, the Cheap Seats Fantasy and Dynasty podcast. This is season 3, and this is episode 4. We're doing back divisional breakdowns of each division in the NFL, where we go over each team and we give you guys a player you should buy from that team, player from that team that you should just hold on to, and a player you should trade away. As always, I am your host, Tyler Lauder, joined with our Eastern Dynasty fantasy expert, Jason. Jason, how are you doing today? You've been making a lot of trades in a league we're in together.
Yeah, I got it. Since dispersal draft, I've had to make some moves to make this team a contender. Not so much, leaving a team barren because who plays in free leagues anymore, and then just bounce.
Oh my God!
But I'm trying to make this team a contender, and I think I'm building a pretty solid squad. But yet, the one person that has not sent me an offer is you. You're the only one in that league has not even sent offer. I just sent a filler offer, just to get the communication. He shot it down with not even a message to me saying, telling me to kiss your ass, nothing. Just boom, cold shutdown. Well, what's up with that?
I don't know, man. I'm just easing my way. I'm letting all of you guys trade right now, and then I'm just kind of sitting still, and things will happen. Everybody knows what my trade block is, and they'll hit me when they hit me. But let's jump on in. AFC East time. This is a very long intro, so we'll just go right into the Buffalo Bills, and we're going to talk about who we should buy from that team. And I'm going to start us off. So we're going to talk about, there's a lot of good options here. Obviously, we want to talk about guys when we do this. Like, yeah, you should go out and buy Stephon Diggs or whatever. Like, some things need to be reasonable because you don't want to go out and be like, oh, yeah, I just traded away 3 first-round picks for Stephon Diggs because that's what the guy wanted. Sometimes you got to wiggle your way around and find things that won't cost you as much. That's where this guy, Gabriel Davis, finishes wide receiver 60 on the year. We all know him from that huge game he had in the playoffs. He's been a guy that is he's just that. He's just a guy. But he's going to be turning 23 this year. And on a team that featured Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Cole Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders, he still came out with 549 yards and 6 touchdowns on 35 catches. His age is so intriguing. He has good size at 6'2", 210 pounds. He's got nice speed as well. Josh Allen likes this guy. I believe he can be had for a high 3rd, maybe late 2nd round pick in this draft, which is something I'd be willing to get rid of in a package that I can get somebody like Gabe Davis to give me some depth.
You said he has 35 receptions?
35 receptions.
And 6 touchdowns?
And 6 touchdowns.
So that's what, a touchdown every 6 receptions?
Yeah, it's something like that and everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's a touchdown every 6 receptions. This is the epitome of what you look for in a buy candidate. That's got a good consistency. I mean, that catch to touchdown ratio is outstanding, especially on a talent-ridden team such as the Bills. So yeah, I really like this buy, and he showed flashes of his potential. Beasley is kind of, going to be one of those expendable people that I see that is on that offense, which would expand his role. I love this buy-in that you've laid out there.
In his 2 seasons, he is very consistent. So as the 3rd/4th option, he's had 35 receptions both the last 2 years. He's had 62 and 63 targets back to back, 599, 549 in yards. So pretty averaging 573, 574, whatever, as the 4th option. And he's had 7 and 6 touchdowns. It's consistency right now. So you'd have to assume Manuel Sanders slides away, Cole Beasley slides away in a year or two. This guy is going to be a guy that is going to be looked at as a number 2 with Josh Allen. He's going to grow with him. And I think that's just what you need to look at to buy. Problem we have here, and this is my buy it's been my buy since the season was over. The problem is he had that big game and we see this potential. So you need to strike at the right time, which probably is during the rookie draft. Maybe this is one of those things where you're like, I don't even know. You're just like sitting here and you're like at 1-8 and you're like, yeah, I'll move down to 112. Just throw in Gabe Davis. You know what I mean? Like, give me Gabe Davis and you can move up 4 spots in the rookie draft. Something like that is where maybe you can kind of strike gold. But yeah, so I really like that. And speaking of guys in to grow with, let's talk about your keep.
My keep is probably one of the most obvious in this division. That's Josh Allen. I mean, finished as a QB1 this year, cornerstone of offense, super flex. You know, is single quarterback or super flex. He's going to be a cornerstone of a team. He's going to put up the numbers. He's only going to get better. He's only going to mature more, grow with the receivers around him. So I think this is probably the easiest one out of this division to choose, and that's to choose as a keep.
How I look at this is if you wanted to sell Josh Allen and trade him away because you want to strike gold on a deal, I'm not against that. But I like to believe that if you can lock down a position for the next, and dynasty leagues are more fun when you're playing longer. That's the truth. Like the longer, like a league gets 5-6 years older, we like it 4 years older. It's better than a new league. You have Josh Allen for 5, 6, 10 years. That's going to be good and lock down a position that you never have to touch in your rookie drafts ever. You can just pick up, guys that are in range 26 to 32 every year as your number 2 quarterback, and you'll be fine. But you never have to worry about quarterback position if you have him in a single quarterback. In a super flex, you don't really, you don't have to worry about anything as well. But if you can kind of draft in like later on, and if you have a winning team, 112, you can draft a quarterback and be like, yeah, sure, I'll take quarterback. I don't really care. But having a guy like this, who's the top tier of quarterback play in fantasy football, dynasty football, at such a young age, you should just kind of ride into the sunset until your league implodes. Hopefully never.
Yeah. And like you said, he's one of those upper tier that you could just, once you grab, unless something absolutely mind-blowing comes along and somebody's willing to overpay drastically, he needs to sit on your team. You need to retire in the league together. And with that, you can, with a solid quarterback, especially in a 1 quarterback league, you can concentrate more on other key positions because you have that position on lock. Mahomes is in that realm too. And I mean, those two are in a league of their own, in my opinion, that you could lock down and totally build around your other key positions unless somebody's going to drastically overpay.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's talk about somebody that you should trade away. This was my pick. This is Dawson Knox. Now, this is a very hard situation to pick on who we should trade because I don't think Sanders or Beasley are guys that you're really going to get anything for because they're too old. Singletary, I don't think he gets looked at as a guy that's going to give you good enough value based on what I hear what you're discussing in a trade form right now. I feel like if you're trading him away and that's all you're getting, I'm not happy with that. But good on you if you can pull off that deal, by the way. But for me, Dawson Knox makes a little bit of sense. So in his 15 games this year, only 7 games, he had 5 or more targets, which is, whatever. They have a lot of options, but still, if he's going to be a reliable guy, he also had 9 touchdowns this year, which is a heavy number. And I'm not sure if this is something that can sustain. Like he was looked at as like literally, there's a string of games where he was just hitting touchdown. And if we go back to his first 2 years in the NFL, granted, tight ends by year 3 is a development phrase. We know who they are, but he had 2 and 3 touchdowns respectively. So like the only thing that really happened here is his receptions kind of doubled and his touchdowns ended up tripling. I don't think that's production that you're going to guarantee to see all the time. I think he's a hot commodity at this point where you can trade him over, and I think that's pretty good. If you can get a good value for him, you can maybe flip him for a draft pick. A late first would be a push, but if you could pull that, good for you. A couple seconds would not be bad. It's hard to say trade this guy away because he's young and because he had such a high finish. But I just think I don't trust guys that get high touchdowns when they normally don't do that every year. And again, I'm kind of reaching here because this entire Buffalo Bills team, you could honestly keep or buy, and I'd be okay with it. They're that good.
My issue with Knox's touchdowns is you got Josh Allen, who is capable of scrambling, and a lot of tight ends are looked at in the red zone. Inside the 10, I'm going to say that Allen is capable of doing a naked bootleg, running it in, scoring on a rushing, rather than looking for your tight end. I think this season is an outlier for Knox. I think he's going to regress touchdowns. I think he's going to go back down into that 4 touchdown range next year. So right now, strike while the iron's hot, find a tight end needy team, and try to get a late first, like you said, maybe an upper tier second and maybe a future second.
Yeah. If you can, strike while the iron's hot with this trade. Simple as that.
Yeah, and talking about, because look, we talk about this all the time. You know, always, if you're trading somebody away, point out, well, look, you know, his first 2 years in the league, his touchdowns. But look, he got that third. Once he got that third year, you've seen look at this exponential growth. And you know, always sell. If you're selling somebody,
sell your players.
Always
when you're selling your players.
Yeah, always talk them up. Always accent their attributes and show the progression. That's how you win trades. Unless you get somebody that's an asshole, that, you know, like Ty, and you know, once you talk somebody up, he doesn't want to talk about trades anymore.
It's the opposite. As soon as you talk somebody down, I don't. But let's keep moving because we're slowing ourselves down here. Let's talk about Miami Dolphins. There's not a lot of great things about this Miami Dolphins team, but there's some highlights here and everything. You would love to buy Jalen Waddle. We're going to spoiler everything. We'll kind of jump. I'd love to buy Jalen Waddle, but I think we're at the point he did so well, played so magnificent that his value is too high to actually buy at a reasonable price. So who can you buy for a reasonable price?
We're going to stay on the tight end discussion. I'm going to go Gesicki. I think he's a tight end that you can get for a fair price, and that's going to contribute. He's going to give you some great weeks. He's going to give you some duds. But I think he's still growing. I think he's getting comfortable with Tua. Will Tua be the quarterback? I don't know. But I think it's the tight end you can get for a fairly reasonable price that can be a contributor to your team and be a solid option to start every week.
I think so as well. He had like 70 plus receptions this year, over 700 yards. He doesn't get the touchdowns. It's not really his thing. But he is consistently, performing pretty well. Let me kind of, you know what I want to look at? I want to look at something when we talk about, they're not on here. That frustrates me. I was trying to find something so I can actually see how we could calculate this. I don't even know who has them in these leagues. Oh man. I want to see the value difference between Dawson Knox and Mike Gesicki to kind of see how they would be valued, you know? I don't even know where I'd find them. I was trying to find where I can actually get a value on this, but I would like to see what like other websites would actually value these guys at, because then it would give us kind of like a clear cut image of like value and rankings. Because maybe you could trade Dawson Knox for Mike Gesicki plus. I don't know. That seems ambitious, but you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say right now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Fantasy Pros right now. You've got Knox's tight end 9. Gesicki is tight end 12. So they're both fringe, right there on the tight end 1 cusp. I think you could definitely do. I definitely think you can get Gesicki in a second for Knox. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, I think somebody might be willing to do that, especially if like they're a Buffalo Bills fan, or if like you can kind of sell them on like, hey man, this is what the like Dawson Knox is paired up with. Oh, interesting. Sorry, this other place has the other way. But I mean, you could probably sell somebody on that. I think Dawson Knox, or Mike Gesicki and Dawson Knox are in the same range. That could be a trade that I would try and make. Hey, you get the younger guy. Simple as that. Give me this guy in a pick, and you get the younger guy to build with Josh Allen. A guy you should keep. Spoiler, we already said it earlier. It's Jalen Waddle. There's not much to talk about on Jalen Waddle, except for the fact that he's fantastic. He's really good. He probably was the best receiver coming out of college. Sorry, if you said he was the best receiver coming out of college, I still wouldn't fight you on that. Some people were still going to argue like Jamar Chase, and I'm not against that argument either. Like, it's not an argument I'm going to put my hat in at all. But I mean, 104 receptions. He's good for 8th in the NFL. He had 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. We don't see rookie receivers break 1,000 that often. We did a long time ago, like the 2014 class had a lot of guys, but otherwise it's very rare. And he did so with Tua at quarterback, which is even more impressive. And I think that he's the type of guy that if you drafted him, good on you, because you probably got him at like 1.8, 1.9 later. And don't try and trade for him because he's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Don't trade him away unless you get an arm and a leg.
He's one of those staple players that's going to grow in offense. And Miami, with all the rumors swirling, he can only get better. I'm not the biggest Tua fan, but he performed well with Tua. So if you get an upgraded quarterback, he's just going to improve. He's just going to be that much better. So I think he's the clear-cut wide receiver 1 of Miami. He's going to grow. He's got infinite room of development. So, yeah, I love this keep, and I fully agree with you.
And his receiving room isn't very, like, threatening to overtake and everything, so I'm not really worried about that. And his quarterback play can only get better, really. Speaking of which, who are you trading away? What are we getting out of?
Just somebody I just talked about. The quarterback, it's going to be a running thing for me. Quarterbacks, I'm getting rid of Tua because, one, his future is uncertain. I don't like him. He's one player that I kind of avoid. Some people are high on him, not me. I think in a super flex league, you could actually trade him and get good value out of him. So yeah, I mean, I just don't think that he transitions well to be a quarterback that you can rely on.
And I think in a single quarterback league, he's probably not really tradable. I don't know who'd want to buy him. But in a super flex league, I get rid of him right away. Try and get somebody that's got even less value on them, but has higher upside, like a Zach Wilson, or just get a first round pick and draft a rookie quarterback. I'm out on Tua. Here's the thing. He played 13 games this year, got a turnover in 8 of those 13 games. And I'm just counting interceptions. He only averaged 14 points per game at the quarterback position, which means in Superflex, you're probably contemplating starting a skilled position over him based on just that average alone. It's not a guy I'd like to trust, and he's starting to break down. We're seeing that he's, this non-really athletic, not strong-armed guy is getting hyped up younger. And as he gets older, I just see it declining more and more. I've never been a Tua guy. I've always been out on Tua. I didn't like Tua coming out of college. I have him on one roster because he fell in a rookie draft. And as soon as I drafted him, I was like, I'm going to try and trade him. And I couldn't get any value that I thought I wanted from him to make sense for that. So, yeah, I agree with this. Get rid of him if you can. If you can get a first-round pick for him, do it. If you can get a lesser quarterback with a higher upside, I'm trying to think of who that would be. I said Zach Wilson. I feel like people are really on Zach Wilson right now. Let's see.
Zach Wilson's a good one. I think
Baker Mayfield.
I don't know. I think Baker. Justin Fields would be a good one.
Justin Fields, if you can get somebody to bite on that. Jimmy G, if you can kind of like swing a pick in there, maybe you can convince the Carson Wentz guy or Tannehill guy. You know what I mean? Like,
I want to throw a name out there that, I'd be willing to package Tua with something if I could get. That's Derek Carr. I think, that's in the same realm. You're going to because people's going to go on name value, and they're going to want Tua over Carr. But Carr's been consistent in a Raiders offense that hasn't been that consistent. So I think if you get Derek Carr with a Tua trade, that's somebody I would target.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that, and I think that's pretty fair as well. Now let's move to the New England Patriots, and we're going to talk about a guy that I want to buy from that team, and this is very unconventional for me because I don't think you should buy running backs really when they're younger, just because like they cost too much. But if you can buy a guy that probably doesn't cost too much, I think that is soon to be 25-year-old Damian Harris. 202 touches. He had 929 yards, 10th in the NFL. He had 15 touchdowns. His touchdown production is not what I'm worried about at all. The fact that his touches increased and his yards per touch stayed over 4, that's what I care about. He saw 15 receptions, 21 targets. Don't care about that. But he's seeing lots of touches on a team that is not going to trust Mac Jones to sling the rock 50 times a game like they would Tom Brady. And here's the biggest thing about this, and we're going to talk about him later, is that everybody's talking about Stevenson as like that electric back. We want him. He's the next big thing. I think Harris is going to prove to be a starting caliber running back for the Patriots, and Stevenson's going to be a support guy. And with that being said, I don't care about touchdowns. I don't care how it's going to change. With those touchdowns, he finishes at RB2, running back 14. Without those touchdowns, he probably finishes at like running back 18 to 20, and I'm okay with that. Go buy this guy because everybody wants the other running back from the Patriots.
Yeah, and we kind of discussed this off air. I like Damian Harris. He's not a flashy guy. He's one of those blue collar players that's going to be under the radar and perform, and going to get you steady points weekly. He's got good hands out of the backfield. Yeah, I mean he's a very, very good buy candidate, especially when we go into Stevenson a little bit later, because everybody's high on him. So they're downplaying Harris. So he's a player that you can target and be comfortable with getting.
And I think he's the type of guy that you can do one of those trades where you get rid of like a older, not necessarily older, but kind of older running back. That I don't know. I'm trying to think of a guy like Aaron Jones. You could probably swing Aaron Jones for Damian Harris in like 1.7, 1.8. Like,
if you get 1.7 in that deal, jump all over. I don't think that somebody's going to go that high. I think there'd be a little bit more of the 9-10 range. But I mean, depending on how you value that, 7 or 9 could be real close.
Even 110.
Or it could be
even 110. Yeah. If somebody is willing to give you mid to late first round pick and Damian Harris for Aaron Jones, I would take that. Austin Eckler, I would do that deal. I think those are the types of deals that if you can get somebody that they're a contender and they want a better player to trust, you can probably swing a deal like that, because Damian Harris isn't looked at as like an RB2. He's still not. Like right now, if you like Damian Harris, go into one of your leagues right now and send a trade offer of Damian Harris and just try and get him and just ask somebody, hey, what do you want for Damian Harris? And I guarantee it's going to be lower than what you think it will be. But let's move on. Let's talk about your keep, and it's Mac Jones. You're talking about another quarterback. This is your third division in a row, 3 quarterbacks. Spoiler, he's going to talk about 4 quarterbacks. So let's go and talk about Mac Jones and why you want to keep him.
Um, the reason why I want to keep him is because the Patriots don't have really a lot of skill positions that you can hold on to that you're going to look for. Jones had a lot of up and down, um, you know, growing pains and everything. He's in that offense, but I think the Belichick system will be put to the test after this year with the Josh McDaniels leaving. So you're going to see that test, but he's young. I'm going strictly on age, strictly on upside. For a quarterback that is growing, the team's not that old. A lot Belichick is putting people in places to win. So he's going to go back to the formula. I don't think this is going to be a payoff in this year. I think this is a 2-year payoff. You're going to hold him for 2 years, and then he's going to have. I think he's going to have an uptick this year. He's going to make it to that QB, a solid upper tier QB2, and then next off season is when you want to start looking if you're going to sell him. Start looking around because that's going to be probably his peak value before you start seeing where he's really going to end up.
Yeah, and on an offense that is going to be in successful positions because they have a good defense, an offense is going to be able to score points in Superflex leagues. He's going to be valuable to you in single quarterback leagues. It's one of those hold and hope. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm trying to trade away Mac Jones in one of our leagues that we're in together because I have this thing where I draft a guy and I try and trade them before they even start their second year. I've already done it with Najee Harris, Jalen Waddle, another conversation for another day. And Mac Jones is my third rookie from this past draft. And I have paired him with 2 mid-first round picks, and I cannot get any quarterback in the top 5, not even close. And so I need his value to kind of increase, which seems kind of crazy, right? But I don't know. People are so down on this rookie class, which I still don't get. But I think you need to keep him a little more, let him grow. Like you don't just because it started to bloom in its spring doesn't mean you need to pick the flower right away. Let it grow a little bit more. You'll have some, in a couple of days, it'll look a little better. For us, Dynasty, in a year, it'll look a lot better. Now, a guy we're going to sell, Randray Stevenson, the other running back, the one that everybody loves, the flashy guy, the new rookie, the guy that's going to be better than everybody else. Like we've seen time and time again. He's so flashy. People love him so much that they are really wanting him. You're trying to trade him away in a league because some guy really wants him. And I think get rid of him now because you probably drafted him. Rookie drafts, ADP. I don't know. Probably in 12-team format, probably like 3-5, like 210 to like 3-5 range is where he was drafted, right?
I got him. I seen him go in all mine. I seen him go as high as 2-2 and as low as 2-8 in my rookies this past year.
So he was always a high second round pick for you. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And in my leagues, I do not believe he was. Again, I could be wrong, but I doubt I'm wrong. I'm not. I don't know. Hang on. Let me see. Let's go in my longest leagues. He was drafted. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Now this includes defensive players, but he went at 313 in this league. So 313. Now I'm gonna keep looking at more leagues while we're doing this. I just think that based on where he was drafted, you probably can get a high second round pick for him, which I think is a fair value for a guy that is probably going to be more hype than anything else. In a league that we are in together, our Sunday league, he went at 3-1. So if you get him for a second, now you've kind of just grown more from there. And I think he's a guy that can be paired with a pick as well to improve your pick's draft status. Here's the thing. We can't trust all these guys in New England, but I'm going to put my trust in Harris, and I'm going to put my trust in the value that Stevenson's putting out right now to gain me something better down the line. Simple as that. No, I don't think there's any more else to say.
No, I think we've pretty much covered it.
Yeah, we talked about them both. Now, let's talk about the New York Jets. I'm going to continue right now because I have a guy that I really want to buy. Simple as that. He finished as a wide receiver 44. That's Braxton Berrios. And he's going to be a free agent this year, I believe. I think so. I'm trying to. What are we
Yeah,
going into year?
I think he is.
This was year 3, but here's my thing: 46 receptions, 431 yards, 2 touchdowns. Doesn't look that great. I get it. He gets some receptions in there, he gets some returns. The Jets were pretty bad. This is a very hard one for us to talk about. And if there's a guy you're going to buy that I think this is me really trying to predict. I hate fucking doing this with slot receivers and white guys and everything. But if you can predict Danny Amendola before he's Danny Amendola, you do it. And that's my prediction here. This is me predicting him to, before Ted Ginn goes to Carolina and has a 10 touchdown, 800-yard season. Before he has a better season, that's now. I just have this feeling that he's going to go to some team, be their number 3 option, and he's going to look stellar, and his value is going to kind of go up, and you can go get him for a 3rd-round pick right now, which is nothing at all. 3rds and 4ths in non-defensive leagues are, in my opinion, throwaways. I don't want them. They're a waste of space. I'd rather have a guy right here that has some production, that a quarterback kind of likes, that I think is going to have this upside. It's a risk I'm willing to take it's not even a risk. It's just the reward I'm willing to reap at no risk, pretty much.
Yeah, he's a 2022 unrestricted free agent. So he does have a lot of upside. Future-wise, where he ends up can either increase or decrease that value. If he goes to where he can flourish, or he could be, a wide receiver 3 in offense. But what also he takes on is he gets special team yards. He has sneaky speed. If he gets past that first line, he could break one on a punt or a kick return, because he's got a nice footwork where he can get out to the open field and make people miss, get on those one-on-one situations, and take advantage of it and be off to the races. So I like this. I gave you this buy because you felt so strongly about it. So I like that. I mean, it's when you get to the mid-3rd round, I call them dart picks, because you're just throwing something at the board, hoping that it pays off. I think this is a good observation for a player like him to throw a 3rd and just see. Worst case scenario, you're out a 3rd-round pick. Best case scenario, you've got a solid contributing flex player.
Let's say he goes somewhere like Cleveland, who's probably also going to lose Landry. Let's say he goes somewhere like Houston, where he can slot in behind Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. Let's say he goes Tennessee to take over the number 3 job there.
New Orleans
takes over a job. New Orleans isn't going to have any money. They can kind of get a guy like this. Maybe he goes to, trying to think, maybe he goes to Tampa Bay and becomes their 3rd. Doesn't matter who their quarterback is, because once they get him, they're going to use him. Bruce Arians is going to use the same offense type way. Maybe he goes to, I'm trying to think of another team, Atlanta, and becomes their number 1 or 2. Maybe Aaron Rodgers goes to Denver and is like, I don't want Sutton or Judy, and brings in Burrows, because he's the type of guy Rodgers bring in. The Raiders could use another guy. There's so many guys. Maybe Dallas. We were talking about Dallas earlier with them and Juju. What if Dallas loses Michael Gallup and they go, you know what? Let's just bring in Burrows. We don't have a lot of salary cap. Let's pay him $5-6 million a year, whatever. And he's their number 3 in Dallas in a high volume offense. The opportunities for him his role to increase are so vast and just out there that I like this risk. But let's move on. We're talking about my guy too much. You get both keep and trade. Let's talk about your keep, though. There's a lot of good options here. I mean, you could have went with Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, and that's kind of where you land.
I went with Carter because I feel that, running backs are a staple. And I think he showed flashes of his abilities this year in a offense that sputtered a lot with the injuries and stuff. So I like this. I like Carter. I like Carter coming out of college, honestly. I actually hated him going to New York because I think he was way too talented. But it's somebody that New York can build around. I think he's going to be able to be that bell cow running back. So he's a keep for me because worst case scenario, you're going to find a running back needy team that's going to overpay. So hold on to him, reap the benefits, see what you can get for him.
Yeah,
worst case scenario.
He missed 3 games, so he only played 14. But in those 14 games, I think he had 8 games with double-digit carries. And we have to remember, this is the Jets. So there's a lot of games that the Jets were losing where running is no longer an option. But he had 2 games with 8+ receptions. So he has this pass catching ability. Most games he only had like 1 or 2 catches. But I mean, he still ended the season 31st in rushing yards, 31st in touchdowns, 31st in attempts. He sounds like he finished like the New York Jets did in the NFL almost. But he had 36 receptions on 55 targets. So the value is there. There's not a lot of offense there. There's really nobody to take away from. Like Ty Johnson, get out of here. Telvin Coleman, get out of here. Nothing. So ride this.
And the growth. He's going to be growing with my trade person here.
So let's talk about that. Let's just switch gears right now because you spoiled it. Let's talk about it. Why are you trading away Zach Wilson?
Because it's the Jets. You don't have a lot of weapons there.
Yeah.
So his ceiling is really limited. But you're going to always have somebody out there, especially in Superflex or somebody that's needing quarterback depth. He is a starting quarterback, so you're going to see somebody out there willing to pay simply because they need depth. If it's a super flex league, you're going to see people out there trying to gobble up starting quarterbacks just to slide into that. But I think the team he's on limits him. Now, we go into an off season where there's a lot of free agencies. You can bring in a big name wide receiver, a decent tight end. This bumps his value up. And if that happens, that is the time to strike, and that is the time to sell him. Once he gets a legitimate weapon in there, strike while that iron's hot.
My thing is, I'm going to put this in a trade scenario for you that I think would make the most sense for everybody out there. For me, if you're a rebuilding team, you keep Zach Wilson. Now, if you're a team that's trying to contend, let's say you're a playoff team. Let's say you're drafting right now based on your finish. 9 through 12. I use 12 team standards because I feel like it's base. But let's say you're drafting in that range every year and you have a good team. Maybe the team that finished 10th place this year is 103. Maybe they have like Kirk Cousins on their team. Somebody like that. And you'd be like, hey, you're rebuilding. Let's do Zach Wilson for Kirk Cousins, and I'll do it straight across. Because for you as a contender, you want to win money. I don't give a fuck about building long. I get people I want to be long-term. I want to be good forever. If you win money in your league, let's say it's a $50 buy-in and you come home with $300. That means the next 6 years in that league are already paid for. That's how I think. So who cares if you have a long-term league? You're playing for free for the next 6 years. That's how I think in fantasy. And I don't think a lot of people do that. And I think that more people should do that because it would make you feel better once you win, or it would kind of change your goals of what you're doing. But I'd rather have a guy that is going to give me points now if I'm a contender. But if I have Zach Wilson and I'm a bad team, I'm going to hold him. So I think your trade is very specific in my eyes.
Yeah, you got to find the right trade partner. And also you got to look at this. Let's use your Kirk Cousins. You could sell Zach Wilson, get Kirk Cousins because you could sell is Kirk? Where's Cousins going to be? Do you want somebody a staple, or do you want the iffy? Kirk Cousins goes to Houston. Who would you rather have?
Cousins. I like Houston as a team and a destination. I think there's so much promise there, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to sell up because I'm using Houston because talent-wise, them and the Jets are real similar. So you could sell you're getting about the same quality around the quarterback, or you're getting the much younger quarterback. So you might be able to get Cousins at a pick, like a low second, simply on you're getting the younger player to help that you can watch grow. I'm going to take on the older statesman, and I really feel that you would come out of this better. And that's what you got to look at. Like I said, it's really team specific and need specific, because if you hold on to him too long, his shelf life on your team is going to be just that. He's going to be on your shelf for a while, taking up a roster spot.
Yeah, and I know some people, I know the Dynasty Nerds, I think like 2 of their 3 main podcasters are pretty big buyers of Zach Wilson. I think they see something I don't. I've been down on Zach Wilson since he came out of the draft. He was my quarterback 4 or 5 coming out of the draft. So that's just me. Jets, bad team. Unless they improve, I don't see him doing much. Get rid of him if you're a contender. If you're rebuilding, sure, hold on to him. But that's going to do it for us here. Now, grab my handy dandy paper. You can always catch more of us on TikTok, where tons of content gets dropped there and everything. YouTube, where you can watch these if you're listening right now on Apple, Google, Spotify, audio listen website.com, wherever you're listening. You can also check us out on YouTube to put, face to mouth. And you can see more videos that are going to be coming up here in this offseason. We're going to be dropping some other cool little videos for you guys, breaking down each NFL team and their offseason goals and needs and what they should do. But also you can see us on TikTok with hot takes and other NFL and fantasy discussions as well. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, usual. We are now partners with the W2M network, where you can see all of our content there as well as many other content creators talking about vast amounts of subjects, such as Jason, who talks about movies sometimes and other things. Where else can they hear your opinion?
Yeah, you can find me on Damn You Hollywood over on W2M. That's where you're going to see me pretty much over the next month. Me and the patriarch, Mark Radledge, are going to be tackling a lot of movies for Black History Month.
Nice.
So it's going to be fun. We're doing a Spike Lee retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a triple feature with Pootie Tang, Ladies Man and Soul Plane. That's going to be a real fun.
That's a very terrible movie you're ending with, but
yeah, and it's a fun experience. Me and Mark, we pick movies, we dissect them, we have fun with them. So yeah, definitely check me out there. And where else can they find you, Ty?
Well, if you guys want to hear me talk about a reality TV show over on MTV, I talk about Love War Challenges. Is an MTV The Challenge, is the name of the show. Podcast talks about everything in and out of the podcast, Twitter, Facebook, stuff like that and everything. TikTok is really big for us there as well. In YouTube, we drop top 10 videos of various things. So if you're into Survivor and you're into Big Brother, but you want to watch something that's better than both of those, The Challenge is for you, and I cover it. You can hear me there. But with all that being said, that is our coverage of the AFC East and everything around us as well. Be ready to come back next week as episode 5. We switch back over to the NFC and we talk about another division over there. I'm guessing NFC South. I don't know. Okay. We'll find out.
And also, if you're listening to this and you have a startup league that's ready to go, shoot me and Ty a message. We definitely want to get involved in a startup league together. So definitely shoot us a message. Our social media is at the bottom of the page. Shoot us a DM. We would happy to be joining your league if you're doing a startup.
For one team, we are going to co-op a team. You're not going to fill 2 orphans. We don't want orphans. We want startup, something new. We want to draft together. Yeah, we're going to manage a team together. And you know what? If this fails and we don't get it, I'm just going to start reaching out to content creators and we're just going to have to do our own league. That's what we're going to have to do. But we want to join your league and see what we can do. And now with all that being said, we'll see you guys next week. Enjoy this time away from football. Just kidding. Go watch the Pro Bowl, watch Senior Bowl, get ready for for your rookie draft. Senior Bowl is very important. But with that all being said, we'll see you guys next week.